What's up, everybody? Toronto Armchair Reactions back after a little bit of a hiatus. We've been away dealing with some stuff, but I think moving forward, we should be pretty consistent. Feeling pretty good about the season, how everything's been going. So we're just going to talk a little bit today about the Leafs. If you didn't already know, we are a Leafs channel. We're going to talk.
We were all in therapy. We just got back from that.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. With the start we had, and I think we needed it, but I think we're good. Things are looking up. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the boys, about how they've been doing. And yeah, as always, I am Reza. We've got Gaush and Maz here. We're just going to be talking about all things Leafs. And then we might touch a little bit on the other Canadian teams.
Oh, we will. We definitely will.
Because there's some fun stuff going on.
It's really hot, like, chili pepper hot.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on how we're doing? I think it's hard to find a flaw in our game right now. We've been just rolling.
I mean, honestly, I'll kind of start off, I guess. It's a weird feeling. Like, I know, like, we all have PTSD, admittedly. Yeah. It's very obvious on Twitter as well that it's funny, like it's actually never been our fan base, or at least it hasn't been our fan base for quite some time, at least online and on Twitter and all that, where, the plan the parade kind of gimmick, or the plan the parade stereotype doesn't actually exist. Like, what's funny is with every win, all the Leafs fans are just like,
what are your plans for late May?
Right, like, and no, I think, like, everyone's just so, we have PTSD. I get it.
Sure.
I have it. We all kind of want to avoid, thinking about the playoffs and try to enjoy now, because we know, like, we've been hurt before and we don't want to get too excited. But the one thing that I will say about this team, though, and the problem is, I probably have said this before as well, but this one does, the way they're winning is, it's interesting. It's actually, it feels defense first. Like, when you're watching the game, it doesn't feel like they're forcing offense. If everything seems like it's actually coming to them rather than them going and getting it. I liked the going and getting it Leafs because it was fun to watch the 6-5 games. Like, those are fun, right? Like, but this team, it just seems to be like, when the time comes, we'll score. Yeah. But shut that shit down.
They're very patient now.
And that I haven't experienced that in, like, maybe 2 decades, maybe more, right? Like, it's crazy because, and so, like, that's where I'm just like, have I felt this before? Is this me being a full-on idiot again? Or is this an actual novel feeling? It feels novel. Like, I haven't seen this kind of type of win yet, but I mean, we've been so hurt,
Yeah.
It's just, at what point?
It's been great watching it, because it's not like a barn burner, like 6-5 win every game where you're just holding on, knowing that the other team's going to score 3 on you and you're just waiting for, like, an offensive explosion. It's been nice watching, like, very defensively sound. They're playing smart. They're playing for each other. They're actually stepping up for each other. They're stepping up for their goaltender, their rookie goaltender, which is mind-blowing to see for me for the Leafs.
Yeah.
But it's just another one of those things. Is every season when I talk to anybody about the Leafs, it's just, hey, they're doing this differently this year. It looks good.
Yeah,
they're winning. I'm happy they're winning. A lot of guys are producing properly, especially the depth players. But what's gonna happen in May, man?
I mean, it's even to the stuff that you said about where you're talking about, like, them playing for each other. Like, a small thing, like Andre Kasha just got here. Right. Yeah. And he was looking for Nick Ritchie a couple of games ago to try to get him going. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And, like, that's underrated, because it's like, well, I mean, it's like you just score, whoever score. But no, he's going out of his way to look for him to try to get his confidence going, because they know, like, that's maybe, like, the one guy at this point who's scuffling.
Yeah.
Right. And so get him going. And it's it's also crazy to think that's the one guy that's scuffling, right? But
I think it's something that you said, Miles, that I stuck with me. I've been thinking about it a bit too. What are, like, the main stereotypes that we always associated with Leafs, no matter how well they were doing, right? Anytime there's a big game, like there's a milestone or somebody, like the Dion Phaneuf game, someone's number is getting retired, someone's Yeah, anytime any of that stuff happened, the Leafs would get absolutely smoked. Like anytime someone got honored in any way, you knew it was over before the puck dropped, right? Jason Spetz's 1200th game, we showed up, like balled out, so good, right?
Yeah.
Dion Phaneuf's retirement game, unreal game, won that one. The things you talk about, right? Like everybody cares about each other. How many times have the Leafs had a rookie goaltender go in and he gets absolutely shelled because they're not playing properly in front of him? Happens to every single time, right? So like there are things that are different. I actually went back and looked at it, Gauch, in our playoff preview video last year. I was like, this team is different. This has never happened before. So 100% with you on the stereotype of Leafs fan being like jumping on that every year. But I'm right back there again, man. Like this team doesn't feel the same. Like I've never felt comfortable watching Leafs. Even last year, we talked about how going into the third, you don't feel safe. And that's just like years of trauma and years of all the stuff we've dealt with. But this year, when we've gone into a third period with a lead, I'm not even remotely as anxious as I used to be, just because I feel like we've understood now how to close games out.
But you know why that is, right? Like there's one fundamental difference.
Yeah.
It's Jack Campbell.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Jack Campbell, and I think the philosophy of the team is not like, we need to go outscore all of our problems because we have a goalie back there who someone's just going to come down and shoot from the goal line and it's going to go in, right? Like
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say it's the backbreakers don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That
first
was the
shot
only
of the
thing
game, the shot from mid, like half ice,
or when
going in.
No, or it's actually what I found worse wasn't those. It was the ones where the ice was tilted one way. The Leafs were dominating play, but they just weren't getting the puck luck. Like nothing was going in. Yeah. And the first shot the other way goes in. That deflates you, right? And that was killing us for the last 2 years. Again, Frederik Andersen was absolutely great for us. Without him, the first 3 years, like we were ass trash. Like he was our MVP. Period. Absolutely. No questions. Anyone who disputes that needs to go kill themselves. Yeah. But when it comes back down to the last 2 years, it wasn't the case. And then the group you could see that the confidence was lost, right? Because anytime they had anything going, a backbreaker would go in and it was over. But now with Jack, it's just, before you could see the nerves, you don't see anything now. Mm-hmm. They expect it to be stopped, and if it's not stopped, they expect the next one to be stopped. Yeah. So it's not a big deal. They're like, okay, this one went in, whatever. Yeah, we'll fucking score anyway.
Yeah, and on the nights that he's not on, like the odd night, because it's very rare that he lets in 3 or 4, they pick themselves up and they're like, he's carried us. We're gonna go win him this game. Right? Like, I mean, it rarely ever happens, but even when Jack's let in like a few goals, it's not like the team is like, oh, well, we can't win this game, right? So his
stats are kind of ridiculous right now, though. It's
like,
I'm so glad he's doing as well as he is because Freddie's doing so well in Carolina. Yeah. If Jack wasn't being Jack, that would be the only thing you'd see on any sports outlet talking about how the Leafs let Freddie go. But Jack has a 1.64 goals against, a 946 save percentage, and he has 12 wins. He leads the NHL in all of them.
Earlier on in the season, it was annoying as shit, and this guy's started to really annoy me. Anthony Stewart was on 590 talking about how Frederik Andersen was not respected. They shouldn't have let him go. This is at the very beginning, right? And I was like, come on, man. You were watching the fucking games.
Yeah.
Like, again, I loved the guy. The guy was good, but his time was done, and we couldn't pay him what he paid. And the dynamic would have been weird, him coming back after him being the incumbent starter for 5 years.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna be the 1B.
You can't have the guy who was the guy now come back into the same locker room with the same core people, and then tell him he's now the backup.
Yeah, who obviously at this point believe in Jack, right? Like towards the latter half of last season, you could see that team was playing for Jack Campbell, that they believed that he was their goalie. And as much as they respected and loved Freddie, like, it would have been such a strange thing to have him come in as the 1B this year. And and kind of, in all honesty, the one thing you can rely on with Kyle Dubas, he does right by the players, right? Like, how do you bring in Frederik Andersen and tell him you're the second guy this year? And like it's just it is disrespectful, I think, because Freddie is still a starter in this league. So
and like if Freddie's back for like to be honest, like the Mrazek thing is obviously hurting us a bit, but in a way it kind of helped him being hurt. Let us give Jack a bit of a ride, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of like getting these nights off, like get him hot, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if Frederick was here, though, we would have seen a 60-40 split of games that would have really broken into the rhythm of Jack.
Yeah.
Jack wouldn't have got this rhythm going.
No.
Like even though Mrazek got paid by the Leafs, like he's not getting the starting job.
No.
Like Jack is too hot, too good.
I mean, if Wall shows enough, I think they'll try to move.
I think so too. I
don't think they'll move him because we've seen goalie injuries happen, and
that's
goes down. You don't want to survive on Woll.
No, you're totally right. I don't think they move him this year. I think that the good thing with Mrazek's contract though is that it is movable. Like it's not It's not like, oh, you're gonna like put some team. No one's gonna take it. You
need him to play a few games.
For sure, and he's gonna get an opportunity. It's the NHL. Like, there's no way he doesn't get a couple games, right? Yeah. So we'll see. I don't anticipate them moving him this year. I don't anticipate Woll taking the backup position this year. Although he's looked great, and that's very good for us as Leafs fans, knowing that we have someone like that in the pipeline. Like, a lot of people have been giving Woll a bit of stick, just saying that his AHL numbers were terrible, but the Marlies freaking suck. So he's not
the first goalie that had
a struggle down there. Yeah.
Mediocre AHL numbers and then became
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need him to be a world beater, but at the same time, I've seen world beater AHL goalies crash and burn in the NHL. So goalies are weird, man. Goalies are like goalies, right? But
you'll never figure out goalies.
No, but I mean, we're talking about signing, so let's get into the depth adds, right? I think that's the first thing we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I think that a big part of why Woll did as well as he did is because he's playing behind a team that knows how they're going to play, and they're going to protect their goaltender from being shelled, and they're not going to put their goalie in ridiculously difficult spots. And a big part of that is the guys we've added this year, right? I think if you look at, I think we picked up Campbell, Kasha, Bunting, Richie, and we talked a little bit about Richie, and we can touch on him a little bit more, but those first two guys or even first three guys, I think have been a big part of our turnaround. Bunting in a different way, but let's talk a little bit about Campbell and Kasha first, because those two guys have transformed what this team is, because we've gone from having just like a very offensive heavy focus to having a line that can shut down anybody. Like we talked about it last year when we got Riley Nash, where we have a shutdown center. But I think this is the first time, at least in a long time, that I can remember being able to throw a third line center out there and they absolutely nullify whoever they're going up against.
I don't honestly view them as a shutdown line just because of how good Kasha is and Kampf is in the offensive zone.
Yeah.
I think the reason they're shutting people down is those two guys have so much chemistry that they're in the offensive zone all the time. Like if Kasha doesn't get hurt,
zone, it's more like they crash and they break up a lot of plays, right?
Yeah.
Whatever zone they're in, they're breaking up plays constantly.
Yeah. Like the Leafs got Kasha at a steal, because if that man doesn't break, he's a 25-goal scorer.
Yeah.
But he is Mr. Glass, right? Like so, like there is the trade-off there.
Well, when you dive into the boards head first, every time you
it's not even Mr. Glass. It's not even, like you could be made out of concrete.
Honestly, I take that back. Kasha, my bad. That he's kamikaze, right? Like he's
Mr. Glass was Loophole. He's kamikaze.
Yeah, Loophole was kamikaze. But this is kamikaze. But like, dude, sometimes I'm like, dude, relax, man. You just came back.
Dude, that 3-0. We were up 3-0 in
high school when you're playing hockey that always jumped for the puck to grab it or jumped into the boards.
Yeah,
he's that guy. He just tries too hard and is like, please, just don't hurt yourself. We want you.
What was it, like 4 or 5 games ago, I think, right?
It was 3-0, and he hit it was like 30 seconds left, and he just went and skated face first into the post.
And I was watching, and I was like, we need you, man. Like you gotta make better decisions with your life.
Yeah.
But like, he's not him without making those type of.
No, and I think they interviewed him, and he said like I give 100 for 50% every shift. That's just how I.
I can tell. He definitely does give 100%.
Very obvious.
Yeah, but like the thing is, he then loses 50% of his games because of that.
Yeah. I want him to hold on.
I love the guy. He's great. I thought that interesting. Tidbit. Like, when that thing came out about him and
best friends
having been
played
together when they were younger, and like basically played together all the way through up until they got to the NHL.
Yeah.
Like that kind of homework though, like that's huge, right? Like I know a lot of people, shout out to the marine animals of the world, and shout out to the people wearing, grocery stuff over their heads and stuff. When they all want to hate on Dubas, I'm always like, well, go fuck yourself. But seriously, like, this kind of work, this kind of homework pays dividends, right? Because they got him at a discount. Yeah, go ahead.
$3.7 million. He found two guys that fit on the third line perfectly and complement the rest of the team for $3.7 million.
Yeah, and that hit the ground running though.
Absolutely. And what did we talk about last year with Hyman, right? Like ideally you want Hyman on the third line, because when he did play on the third line, that third line of Mikheyev, Engvall, and Hyman, I believe, we were like, this is awesome, right? We're like, why can't we wish we could have it, but we couldn't afford to move Hyman down because we didn't have the depth pieces to put in the rest of our lineup. And I think that's where we can talk about Bunting a little bit, is like, you don't need him to play in that third line because all of the complementary pieces that you've picked up, you can put Kampf and Kasha on the third line and they can carry that. And that allows someone like Bunting to play in the top six where he's been awesome, right? And all those guys make what Hyman makes. So like,
and Bunting just needed to be Hyman light, or like Hyman, like second year. He didn't need to be like the most perfect Hyman. He just needed to be second year Hyman. And we were fine, right?
Yeah. And realistically, if you look at the cap hit, right? Like you've got three guys for the price of one here. So we don't need one guy to be Hyman. We just need those three guys to make up for what Hyman adds. And you've got two guys playing the defensive role that Hyman might play. And then one guy doing in a little bit of the nitty gritty in the offensive zone, scoring some goals, the rat, right? So you've got pieces around your lineup that did what Hyman did. It's almost like you've split him up into all of his parts and put him where you want him in the lineup. Like that's what everyone has said, is we wish we could have 10 Zach Hymans to put in the rest of the lineup. So now you've got like little pieces of him that you can insert into different spaces to round out your lineup. And that's what Kyle's done. And like you said, the marine animals and our friend Fish and some people with bags over their heads give Kyle a lot of shtick, but I don't know how you don't give credit for something like that. But like that was just such a masterful utilization of the cap where you addressed all of your needs. Yeah, you gave up someone that the fan base loves, that the team loves, but look what's happening, right?
Like I wish we kept Hyman. Like he was a phenomenal player. He
absolutely
the team.
He'll always be loved here. Yeah,
that price tag, honest, like Bunting is providing. Like Bunting is providing not exactly what Zach Hyman provides, but at least 75% of what Hyman presents, but with 1/6 of the cap hit.
Yep, and it's offensively. He's outscoring Hyman this season, even though Hyman's playing with.
Well, the like counting stats aside, though, right? Like, there were stuff that Hyman did that like Bunting's not there yet, right?
Absolutely,
but again, at the price, like we're talking different things. And again, I hate the whole narrative of like I know a lot of people like to make this out into like comparing and Hyman's invaluable. 100%. That's what we all wanted Hyman to get paid. Every single one of us wanted Hyman to get paid because we were like, you know what? He earned it. Go get it. We can't pay you because that's just not how it works here, right? And we can't pay you for like 8 years.
Yeah. Like when Hyman got paid, obviously I was sad because I'm like, damn, I love this dude as a Leaf. I wish he stayed. But guess what? You earned this. You got paid. Go get that money because that's what you're here for. You're trying to settle your life.
Absolutely. I don't think anybody in this fan base has a bad word to say about Zach Hyman, right? Like nobody has, like that dude wore his heart on his sleeve for every year that he was here. He is beloved by this entire fan base, all parts of this fan base, even the ones we don't normally agree with. But, I think that we were missing depth, and what Kyle has been able to do is take the money that Hyman would have gotten and turned it into that depth, right? And so
good thing he didn't pay $5.5 million like other GMs who don't have depth now.
Yeah.
Of the three, who do you, if you had to pick the MVP of those three, or like the depth signings, who's your guy?
Kampf for me.
Kampf?
Yeah.
I'm going Kampf as well.
He's just like, he's one of the, I think watching this team develop, we've just been so like focused in on how incredible offensively hockey players can be. but like watching that dude play hockey is a different kind of entertainment. Like he's just like so steady, never makes a stupid play. He's always with it where he needs to be. He's in places where you don't expect him to be, and he'll break up plays like nobody else would break up. I've just been so happy to see that like we can have that line out there against anybody, and I'm not worried at all. Like I know they're gonna take the puck and they're gonna put it into the offensive zone and kill a minute and a half and probably miss the net or do something dumb offensively. But then you've got like the best players on the other team playing defense for a minute and a half. So I think he's a game changer. I love that signing.
He's a nice relaxing because the first two lines, like you're on crack, you're watching them, you want them to score. Then Kampf and Kasha come out and you're like, this is nice, settled hockey. I don't expect this shift to go to all hell. I don't expect him to get stuck in the defensive zone. He's just been solid. He's done everything that he's been asked to do and then some.
Yeah, I mean that's it's the line built for Keith. Like Keith wanted that line, he got it right. Like it's, and when like if there comes a time where like Keith is pissed off at one of the top two lines, he knows he can ride this line a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of that, I think that's a good transition for us because I think that was happening a lot at the beginning of the season where like the depth guys were doing their job and they were playing responsible hockey and our top six wasn't producing. So I think maybe we can talk a little bit about our big four and how we feel like they've kind of bounced back after that early stretch where they weren't necessarily producing outside of Calgary's very own William Nylander, who has been on an elite pace since the playoffs last year.
I'll get this out of the way. Marner stepped it up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lie. When this season started, I was still uber salty about Marner's play from last year and the year prior. And he started the season off just the same. It looked like he had no heart. He wasn't Magic Mitch anymore. He was just Mitchell. I don't know what he was doing on the ice, but over the last 15, 16 games or so, Marner's gone back to just being Marner. Like the magic happens when he's just playing and having fun. He gets those normal assists, and the magic just happens when he's comfortable and rolling. The first half of the season and even the playoffs, he just tried to force that magic. He's like, I'm the player. I'm the $11 million player. I got to play like an $11 million player. Don't do that. Do what you're doing now. Just play.
Yeah, but this is my only fear, right? What he showed at the beginning of the season actually gives me a little bit of fear because it was a new season, it was a regular season, and you let that pressure come over and it did affect you. And like, okay, like you got over it and you were able to kind of mentally get past it, which again, doing what they do isn't easy. You're also paid for what you're not like, what you're able to do compared to like regular humans like us. But at the same time, like he's actually kind of almost a quintessential Leaf marker at this point. Like how he performs in the playoffs is going to be, it's good. I'm almost at the same place I am with him as with the Leafs, like where everyone's like, hey, like show me in the playoffs because I really don't care what you do in the regular season. He can put up 100 in the regular season because he'll get 3-second assists, like, and he'll be on like play for 2 minutes somehow. Like somehow he does, like he gets 3, like he's a machine, right? But then I need to know that like he doesn't get this, like the deer in the headlights look, because he put too much pressure on himself. Yeah. Like again, like the kid has mad talent. Like he has it. He has the skill. I remember the first time I saw him live. I went with my girl, and I thought it was the first game I think she saw live in a few years, and the person I noticed on the ice the most, and this was like I think second year Mitch, was Mitch, not Austin, not Willie, it was Mitch. Mitch is insane, like he's insane. However, he's actually more of a you got to show me in the playoffs, man, because like I'm still nervous about him.
By that accord, we have to hold Matthews there too. Because it's not every playoffs, it was just last playoffs. Yeah,
that's
but
the thing,
last
though,
playoffs
like,
was against the Habs.
That's the thing, though. I don't think he had a bad playoffs. So like I still stand by that. Like everyone says because of the counting stats, but watching him play, I didn't see a bad playoff.
But the counting stats are what you're paying him for, right? He's Austin Matthews, not David Kampf. I need those 5 goals in 7 games. I need that 10 points in 7 games.
The guy who looks like I am going to piss my pants and then shoots the puck out of the rink versus the guy who hit 17 goalposts. Like, I'm not riding the guy who hit 17 footballs.
Fair.
Right? Like, I didn't, like, the whole time, I know everyone was saying you have to be equal. Honestly, if you were watching the series, in my eyes, I was like, I didn't see Matthews have a bad series.
Yeah.
Matthews did more everywhere else other than goal scoring. But for me, it's you are the premier goal scorer in this league.
100%. He hit 7, like he hit, okay, 17 is an exaggeration, but he hit an obscene amount of posts and they ran into carry play.
Yeah.
Right?
No, for sure. I think the thing is, there's a couple of things I want to touch on about the playoffs last year, and something that I think I saw from Keefe that I'm hopeful will be helpful if this happens again. We've always said, I still, to this point in time, believe Matthews is better with William Nylander. I think they are a much better lineup. Like, they are a much better matchup against anybody you put them up against, right? I think the reason that happened, this is my thought, I'm hopeful this is why Keefe did it, because he split them back up, which I don't agree with, but you know what, he's a coach and he's earned us trusting what he sees, right? Because we saw in the All or Nothing documentary, we've seen since he said, you know, he got a lot of shit for saying that after the Carolina game that this was a lot better. A lot of people gave him a ton of shit saying like we still lost, blah, blah, blah. And since then we've been on his heater, right? So like he's earned our trust at this point. He's won a lot of games. So my thing is he switched and gave Matthews and Willie a chance. He split them up, but they were dominant in my opinion. They look really good together. They always have. I'm hopeful that if Mitch disappears in the playoffs, there is a plan B, because if he does disappear, you've got Willie with Matthews. And one of the biggest factors that I don't know why this doesn't get discussed enough is for some reason people think John Tavares is like some washed up has-been, and that him being out of that series didn't impact the results of that series. You know what I mean? Like, this dude has 22 points in 22 games. He is not some has-been or some washed old man. He is still an elite center in the NHL today. And as much credit as we gave Austin and Willie for playing well together, JT kind of brought Mitch back when they started playing together. You know, like all of a sudden Mitch starts playing well, and that might be because he's playing against lesser competition with JT, but maybe you do that in the playoffs to give Mitch a little bit of a bounce, and then you can mix things back up if you need to.
I actually don't think it's about Nylander and Matthews as much as it's about JT and Marner. I think that those should be the lines because JT and Marner work better.
Yep.
Like they elevate each other more, right? Matthews, like, yes, Marner does help elevate Matthews, but Matthews doesn't need Marner.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Matthews can still be Austin fucking Matthews. And with Nylander on the other side, when Marner's on the side, he has a guy who's just setting him up constantly.
Yeah.
When Nylander's on the other side, he has a shooting threat on the other side that he can play off of, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really change his value. And Nylander is his own guy too. The way his talent works is he operates within himself, right? Like he will work. He's kind of more or less William Nylander on any line.
Yeah, he'll elevate any line he's on. It doesn't matter who
he doesn't even need to elevate the line. He just needs to be himself, and he's going to put up what he needs to put up. So putting those two on the line is fine because the symbiotic relationship that Marner and JT have a much more, greater than some of the parts type situation going on. Yeah. Right. And so I think that's why. But I think what Keefe was going for was, remember when Matthews and Marner are like really going, like the level they go at, it's crazy. And I think he just wanted to get a little bit of the magic back there while it's still the regular season, so that if he flips flops, whatever, based on need, they have it and they have the confidence to know they have it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that magic comes back for another 20 games. Cause if you look at Matthews, he has 10 goals, which is absurd. But not a lot of them are his wrist shot, like his patented, I'm going to take this and sling it into the net. I think he's still suffering from it, which is taking a lot more slap shots than he has in any year before.
Yeah.
I think his wrist is feeling it. It's the same thing with Crosby, what Crosby put off for 10 years. Yeah. Matthews actually did that surgery as soon as possible, right? Yeah. I think it's going to take him another 10, 20 games to get back into it. Then you're going to see the wrist shot come back and not the slap shot as much.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually prefer that like Matthews did this now. Like even he's slow now, as long as he heats up in the second half or the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And Actually, as long as he heats up for the fantasy playoffs tonight, like smash all you guys, like I'm good, right? Like,
You know what? I got Mitch on that on my team, so every goal you get, I get an assist, so I'm fine with it.
I don't want to talk about fantasy.
goals is your premium, motherfuckers.
I think I'm good for goals. I got Stamkos. I got the elite Troy Terry.
Let's
We
just
score lots of
let's
goals on my team. But anyway, I just something I want to.
while this whole conversation was happening, I was just thinking we're at a point where we're talking about Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, and Marner. We've come so far.
Dude,
we used to be happy about the MGK line, and now
yeah. It's unreal, man. We're spoiled, and I think that because of playoff results, like we take that for granted sometimes. But that's what hockey's about, right? It's show like we need results now. We've gotten to see some very special players over the last couple of years, but now we need them to be special in the playoffs. Just one more point on Matthews before we can kind of take a little bit of a break, switch over to another one, and wrap up. But I think something you said, Coach, like I want to build on a little bit is Matthews is at his best when he disappears. Right. And what I mean by that is like when the second that someone loses track of him on the ice is when he finds a spot and he can release gets him a goal 9 times out of 10 because you give him a second, you give him a little bit of space and he's going to make you pay for it. Right. And I think the issue with having absolutely. And I think that the issue with having Mitch on his line is that the other team always knows where the puck is going. Right. And as incredible as Mitchell Marner is at making plays and putting the puck on the tape, even when guys are in the passing lanes, the other team knows where that puck is going. And I think that that's the difference between having Mitch on Austin's line and having Willie on Austin's line is Willie allows Austin to disappear a little bit. And that's kind of what you've seen on the power play. Like how much were we crying out for William Nylander to be on the first power play unit last year? Because it allows Austin to get time and space.
2 shooting threats instead of 1.
Okay, so say they switch back, right? I'm just curious. They go to Austin Matthews, Nylander, right? Who do you put on the other side? Who's the other guy?
I put Kerfoot on that one and Bunting with JT and
Mitch.
Yes, because I just go back and recreate that Hyman JT Marner line because I love that line.
That's a great line.
That line is going.
That's a great line, and I think that the thing is like Kerfoot. We can touch on him a little bit, and then we can kind of like wrap this one up, and we'll start another one. Kerfoot's been awesome this year, man. Kerfoot has been so freaking good this year. This dude takes so much shit on Leafs Twitter and from the media probably. I don't know. I don't listen to those idiots anymore. But he takes so much shit, dude. And he's just been
only takes shit because of the name he's linked to.
Yeah, right? But he's been not so good, man. Like everything that he has been a player where you ask him to do anything, play third line, second line, first line, PK, power play. He has done it all. And I am just like, I was on board with trading him this summer, but I am so happy that we didn't.
But you were on board with trading him for cap reasons, not because of his play. Like he wasn't playing poorly ever. It's just everyone just keeps thinking about Kadri, right? Yes. That's the one thing that everyone thinks about when they look at him. It's like you think about your ex, you're like, oh, but Kadri's fucking going off now.
Man. You listen. People who are the happiest never think about their ex, right? Exactly. Just keep that in fucking mind. Like get over it.
I'm not mad about the Kadri trade. Like I think it's Dubas' worst trade. I do think it's his worst trade. He got fleeced, but there was 2 straight playoffs. I cannot forgive you. Like I can't trust him.
At the time, I don't think, to be honest, at the time, I didn't think it was a fleece, so I can't retroactively call it a fleece.
Yeah.
That's another reason I can't say that. Because at the time, Barry was fucking hot shit. You know, everyone was fucking, I mean, everyone said he can't play defense, but he was also going to put up like 90 points on the Leafs, right? So, you know, until Babcock basically made him fucking
a defensive defenseman who couldn't play defense.
Aki Berg over here, like.
I'm gonna stop the recording here, and then we'll pick back up in a second. Yeah, so I think that's I think we talked a little bit about Kerfoot and Naz and that deal. We'll probably bring that back up a million more times on this show because I don't think that's a topic that's ever going to get enough talking points. But something else that I think deserves our attention is just the state of some of these other Canadian teams. Particularly, I think Vancouver and Montreal. I know it's a shock. They've been They've been so good for so long. Stanley Cup finalists, Montreal Canadiens. But I'm gonna let Miles start this one off because I know he's got some fun takes on what's going on across
It's
the country.
just so weird. I don't understand how Cole Caulfield isn't at like 25 goals right now. Because all I had to hear during the entire playoffs was CBC just completely deep throwing the fuck out of him, telling us that he's probably going to be the next Austin Matthews scoring 50 goals, sent down to the AHL. Josh Anderson, the second coming of Doug Gilmour. He is going to destroy the league. 5 goals, the same cycle. I score 1 goal, then don't score for 10 games. Who saw that coming? Carey Price, he took a leave of absence, but guess what? That team has no depth. Let's say, 5 goals a game? They're about to lose to Vancouver right now. Battle of who's the worst in Canada.
What's the score right now? Jesus Christ.
It's 2-1. I know because I drafted a lot of Vancouver players.
Oh, no.
You
drafted and traded for. Sorry.
Oh, fuck. And then and Winnipeg got shut out. But let's not talk about Winnipeg right now. Let's keep on Montreal.
I mean,
hey, you forgot about the second coming of Patrice Bergeron, Nick Suzuki.
I still liked his play this year, though.
He's been good, but he's not Bergeron.
He's not Bergeron, but I can't talk shit. He's still young. I think he is probably the best player on the Montreal Canadiens. I'm just so sad for him that he actually signed that contract and decided to stay there for 7 more years.
But I think the biggest issue with Montreal is like they've never had a number one center. And then this was going on Twitter yesterday. Is like all the Montreal fans were like, oh my God, look at this old team that we had before Bergevin took over and look how much further we are now. And all I thought, and someone mentioned this on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, but it was just like, it's been 9 years and you needed it. Yep, that's the one. You needed a number one center 9 years ago. And you never got one. And I think Nick Suzuki is great.
Okay, hold on. I got to stop you for 1 second. Okay. This team actually looks better than the current team.
100% it does.
But okay.
100% it does. But don't tell a Habs fan that because they think Bergevin like transformed this franchise. We'll get to their results in a second. But my thing is like Nick Suzuki is a great player. I'm with you, Maz. I actually really like him, but he is not. I don't think he's ever going to be a first line center. I don't think he's ever going to be a first line center. I think he is a fantastic second line center, but it just shows that like this dude had 9 years to find a first line center, and he just never did. And
it might have something to do with their whole philosophy for the last 100 years of I got to draft French. Yeah. Because how many times have you seen in their draft or their GM hires or their coaching hires, they never hire the best possible.
Yeah. Well, it looks like they're saying Daniel Briere
Briere can speak French.
Is front line for the GM spot.
Because Daniel Briere can speak French. Like you could have Jesus Christ, but if he doesn't speak French, they're not going to hire him. That's the biggest flaw with that franchise. They are so stubborn. Like there's translators. Other sports use translators. What do you think happens in football? Like actual football, not American football.
Dude, look at soccer, man. Like
that's what I mean. Like soccer.
Soccer football. These guys have like managers from like Portugal, like managing in Spain or England or anywhere else. Like you make it work, dude. Like it's unbelievable how bigoted.
Hey, listen. The best language is dubs. Like it's always dubs. Like that you win. No one cares what language you did it in.
Yeah. And I think that their fans are really we got some comments on our playoff preview video last season after they beat us. I was like, look what happened now. And I was like, listen, man, like my whole thing is that team has been a dumpster fire for most of the last 10 years. They shouldn't have made the playoffs 2 years in a row. Got absolutely so lucky with COVID and barely snuck in last year. Like I remember Calgary was making a run late and Montreal couldn't win a game to save their lives, but because they got off to such a hot start, they ended up sneaking in. And yeah, sure, they went on a run, whatever. Like, listen, they went on a Cinderella run and
they didn't though. Carey Price went on a run.
Yeah, and that's what makes it a Cinderella run. I don't think that team would have made the playoffs last year, would have made the playoffs the year before. Like, and look at what they are now. They're supposed to be better now, right? Like they're supposed to have
But
their young
like
talent
most
supposed to
people with
develop.
half a brain last year called it. Like
Yeah.
if they think that they are a Stanley Cup finalist and don't make any big changes in the offseason, this is what's going to happen when you get back into a real division, not just a Canadian division.
Well, okay, here's two comments to that. One, I'm low-key kind of sad they didn't win a little bit more because I wanted them to extend Bergevin for like another decade because that would have like guaranteed mediocrity. So I'm actually I say low-key, like one of the guys on Twitter was like, I'm high-key sad about it. It's true. Like honestly, we should have been rooting for Montreal because that was a tire fire and we should have hoped that they signed him again. But second
dude,
of
the
all,
thing is, they're gonna be that anyways. Like if they get Daniel Briere, like what experience does this guy have? Right?
Jeff Gordon is gonna be the de facto GM.
You think so?
Briere is just gonna be the face. He's press secretary.
Okay.
I mean, Jeff Gordon got pushed out of New York and they're doing a lot better now. So
yeah, I'm not saying it's gonna be better, but I'm just saying it's not gonna be Daniel Briere. He's just gonna be the press secretary.
Yeah,
he's the face and like the French. That's about it. But the second comment I don't agree with. Listen, man, have you seen the top of the division conference? Sorry, top of the league right now? Like it's three Canadian teams up there.
Yeah.
Like that North
and
division,
Florida.
The North Division wasn't like a cakewalk the way people made it out to be, right? Like
that's what I wanted to touch on after. Everyone's like, watch what happens when the Leafs go back into a real division. Yeah, they had the best season they've had in the history of their fucking franchise. 12-2.
Having like we're let's not get ahead of ourselves.
It's done. No, best month.
Oh
sorry.
yeah, your best month, yeah. But like look at Edmonton. Edmonton's doing what it does. Look at what we're doing. Look at what Calgary is doing.
When you have Connor McDavid.
Calgary,
But that was my point.
Yeah, Calgary, I believe in a little bit more than Edmonton, to be honest. Like, I still am not sold on Edmonton's defense and their goaltending at this point.
I don't think Edmonton's goaltending wins for them in the playoffs. They need to seriously address that goaltending. But their fucking offense, Jesus.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
But Draisaitl and McDavid are just nuts.
Machines, dude. Like absolute machines.
They're winning all their games because those guys are just untouchable right now.
Yeah.
Like what McDavid is doing is you can't even pull this shit off in video games. He's going through 4 people like he's playing against like minor midget players as a 25-year-old man. Yeah. He's going up against 35-year-old NHL vets and making them look silly. That guy is the best player on the planet by a mile.
Fantasy team.
That's why I love him so much. He's the only reason my fantasy team has any fucking points because nobody else can get him.
Yeah, it's unreal, man. I can't say enough about that guy. Like he is so special.
If only he had a personality, hockey would explode.
Yeah, just looking at
they wouldn't because they would
league wouldn't
sure
let it, man.
He got no exposure. Right?
Yeah, the league wouldn't let it.
Hey man, like it's you have personality. You're branded as a locker room cancer. You're black. You're branded as a locker room cancer. Like that's just the way this league is.
Yeah, and I think we won't touch on it today, but I want to touch on race and the NHL a little bit, just because I had some interesting back and forth on Twitter about Naz, and how his career just all of a sudden he went from being the #1 penalty drawer in the entire NHL to after 1 year, like from 2016 to 2017, everything changed for this guy to the point where he's now outside the top 10 in penalties drawn. And since that period of time, right? Like someone looked at it and told me, oh, over the last 10 years, now it's still top 3. But that's just because it was inflated numbers from the first 3 years of his career because he got so many calls because he was a pest. But then after he was given his
suspension,
and he had his he has a pass now, he has a history now, right? Like after that, all of a sudden the student's like outside the top 10 in penalties drawn. And someone said to me like, oh, maybe he just changed how he played. And my thing was, sure, he had to change how he played because he was getting mugged every game and didn't get any calls. Whereas a guy like Marchand, for example, has been doing this for 15 years, right? Like nobody is like he gets mugged, he gets penalties drawn. He's still top 3 in the league over the last decade and has been every year consistently. So we'll get into race a little bit later. I think there's just so much to talk about when it comes to that.
But I do want to touch on one more thing about
Yeah,
Connor
go for it.
McDavid. The reason I brought up the race is, and I know you had kind of mentioned it. I had seen you kind of have that conversation on Twitter, and like I do absolutely agree. Like, yeah, we definitely will have a conversation about that, and I have a lot of thoughts about that. And anyone who wants to tell me that my experience is wrong, they can go fuck themselves, because I'm the only one who lived it, right? So that like 100% needs to be talked about. But just overall, like the way hockey is built and the way they want hockey to continue is where the lack of success comes from. Like when you have any media member basically saying shut up about the best player in the league, right? And it makes no sense. This man is head and shoulders talent-wise, and you're saying shut up and play. And no. We've seen him get mugged. Listen, I am in no way an Edmonton fan, right? I will happily watch them all drown while the Leafs go further. Like, if that's what happens, sign me up, because all of them will watch us drown. I don't give a shit, right? I'm not, hey, like, it's a Canadian team. No. I mean, I was like that before, until they all seem to fucking turn on us in the last few decades. And then now it's just like, no. Right?
Yeah.
But Connor McDavid is the best player in the sport, and it's not close.
Nope.
So how are we not showing respect here?
Best player ever, and it's not close. I'm sorry. Like Wayne Gretzky is.
You just got to do it for longer, though. Like that's the only time I don't like.
You gotta do it for longer. You gotta win, right? You gotta win.
Anyone who does anything, like, you got to do it.
Just gotta do it longer. Exactly.
Time, all that matters.
Okay, I'll reword that. Talent-wise, this is the best player hockey has ever seen. Like I like, when it comes to pure raw talent.
I mean, Mario Lemieux was there too.
I think it was a different kind. I just feel like, I don't know, man. McDavid is just like, he doesn't look human.
Listen, he's in the conversation.
Yeah, he just gotta win.
He has, but again, like, you can't tell that guy to shut up.
No.
And what's funny is, I mean, maybe I don't know. Torts should be old enough to remember, but like, do you guys not remember when like Lemieux used to complain about fucking people hanging off him and stuff? Like, they used to complain too.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck are you talking about, son?
It's insane, man. I think that this league has done everything wrong for like the last.
Gary Bettman sucks.
We need a new commissioner, but I don't.
You guys, I mean, like, we didn't get to really talk about it, and we probably will have to do another thing about that. But a lot of podcasts approached it in a really tasteful manner, so I don't think we need to retread it. But the way he fucking handled the Kyle Beach situation, like, are you fucking kidding me? This dude does not fucking lead. He does not belong.
No.
Like, he's all lawyer speak, which is fine, but you have to have A, empathy, and B, you have to know what you're doing. You're marketing a sport. You have there's no give.
Hockey is maybe, I don't know too much about American football, and I've heard a lot of stuff about their fans, but this sport right now has the most toxic, entitled, racist fan base that exists in sports outside of maybe Italian soccer and the NFL, maybe, right? Like, Italian soccer is on another level. I don't even want to talk about that, but like, not even Italian soccer, sorry, European, like Italy, and then like all of like the Russian countries and near Russia, all that stuff, just like another level that we won't even talk about.
I don't watch enough soccer, no.
But the thing for me right now is, you just need to be a good human being, and you need to want to attract good human beings towards your sport. This league does nothing when it comes to wanting others outside of this like core of disgusting people to want to watch its product. And anytime anybody else, whether that's a different race, different sexual orientation, different like gender, outside of that group, like, it's just like old white angry dudes that don't want anybody, like Don Cherry. They want Don Cherry to like hockey. They want people like Don Cherry to like hockey. They want people who share Don Cherry's views to like hockey. And anything or anybody outside of that mold is like, you're not welcome here. And if you try to be part of it, we'll make it as impossible and difficult for you as possible. Like, even the fans of this sport today on Twitter, if you're a person of color, if you're a woman, if you are, a member of the 2S LGBTQ community, anybody that is not an old angry white dude gets so much shit online for just being a fan of the sport, and the NHL does nothing to do anything about that, to combat that in any way other than just pay lip service. We're with you.
They don't.
But the problem is the
but they
lip
don't
service
even pay
is
lip
dog
service.
shit too.
No,
Like,
no. It's not dog shit. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's
What
what I mean.
lip
It's
service?
fucking bullshit. What are you doing? The whole Kyle Beach situation, it's one of those things where you don't need to be all lawyerish. You don't. All you had to do was, this is bullshit. Like, our team, none of our team should ever conduct this, and shut it up. You have all the evidence against you, and you still don't have.
In
a
that
spine
moment,
to
you
stand
come
up
out
for
and
it.
you say, Quenneville's not coaching another game. Cheveldayoff is immediately being relieved of his duties. Anybody involved in this is never going to work in the NHL again. Set that precedent right there and then. But it's like,
look what the NBA did with David Stern.
Yeah.
David Stern is a billionaire, and they told him, guess what? You're banned. You're out. Don't ever show up again. That's a billionaire they kicked out. These guys can't even do that with a fucking coach or a GM.
It's unreal.
You mean Donald Sterling, right?
Yeah.
You said David Stern. That's the old commissioner. It's like,
my bad. Yeah, Donald
Sterling.
Yeah.
But I mean, just I mean, obviously heavy topic, but just coming back to the Canadian franchises, let's just kind of quickly go down the ticker. The Habs, have, full of, chili peppers and really shitting the bed. Vancouver.
Honestly, that's what Mark Bergevin gets for drafting Logan Mailloux.
Yep.
You know what? Karma's a bitch.
Karma's a bitch.
And she just fucked you up the ass.
Yeah.
Vancouver, there's one fix. Easy one fix. Fire Travis Green.
And
Benning. Bro.
My point is, even Benning got them Besser, Pedersen. Pedersen is extremely talented, but watch one Vancouver game. That kid has lost all confidence. Besser is a phenomenal goal scorer. He's scared to shoot now. Travis Green is taking that team and all the talent, or whatever talent they do have, and driving it into the ground.
You know what? Maybe you might be right. I haven't watched enough Vancouver hockey. So like you've watched it. I've been watching successful teams because I'm successful. But the thing is, though, like, honestly, like depending, like, these off-season moves when people were like, oh, like I thought they were like a tire fire waiting to happen. Like, you mean the offseason stuff? I'm like,
getting all of
Larson, like, are you kidding me? Like, that was a bad move.
Yeah, they just the thing is, like, they're not well coached. Their GM has put them behind the 8 ball and just signing terrible contracts. I was talking to a Vancouver fan on Twitter, and we were just going back and forth. Like, they feel like it's very similar to the situations we put ourselves in when we sign guys like Clarkson and Marleau and stuff like that, where you're like trying to get a veteran presence, but really it's just holding you back and putting you in a difficult cap position. So I think that's what's going on in Vancouver right now. And I don't think Benning is going to get them out of it. So I think you're right, Maz. I think Green needs to go, but I think everybody other than, like, they've got the, like, foundation of a good team there. It's just, like, weird because the coach and the GM have just turned it into, like, this just absolute, like,
the GM doesn't understand where to spend his money.
Yeah.
And the coach doesn't understand how to get the best out of his players, especially his best players.
Yeah. Listen, I'd probably go down on Twitter if, like, more than 3 people watch this anyway, so I'll double down on it. But fuck them. Weren't they the ones telling us Pedersen was also going to be better than fucking Matthews?
Yeah.
Weren't they the one telling us their core was better than
our core?
Matthews, Nylander, and Marner? They were like, oh man, like, what are you talking about? Fuck off.
Talking about people who said they were going to be better than the Leafs. Raza dunked on someone who said that
what's
the
a sign
the second best team in Ontario.
You know what's funny? What's funny is, okay, we haven't had playoff success, right? I absolutely agree that. We cannot deny it. But every single core from every Canadian team is instantly compared to ours to see if it's better.
Well, that's the media, right? Like, that's the Toronto media. What Maz is referring to is I actually got into a little back and forth with our pal Mark Mathot this morning. He tweeted out, I can't remember when it was, with something
September
about
15th.
Maz knows the dates. September 15th, Mark Mathot tweeted that would it be weird if the Leafs were the second best team in Ontario this year? or would it be a surprise or something like that? I just responded to him today, and I was like, and then what happened? And I don't know if he
did he get butthurt about that?
I don't know.
Yeah, he replied. He's like, "You have a phone, right?
Like, you have a phone, right?
NHL.com."
And so I was like, you know what? I did what you said, and I went and looked, and one Ontario team has 31 points, and the other one has 9. So I don't know what that means, but you tell me. And then
I'm not going to shit on Ottawa too much because they expected failure this year, so they're just where they.
Yeah, I don't think the team. I don't think the
did.
team expected to be this good. I think the media like labeled them as, oh, these guys are really good. Watch out.
Yeah, because they saw how well Stützle's playing. Brady
Yeah.
Tkachuk is great. Josh Norris has been great. Bathurst has been great. But guess what? They're all still kids.
And they still have Nikita Zaitsev playing on their first D pairing. So.
Like, you're ruining Shabbat playing Zaitsev beside him.
Yeah. So, you know what, man? Ottawa's a dumpster fire. I think they themselves as a team probably didn't expect to be a world beater this year, but the media had labeled them to be something special, which they were never going to be. Vancouver and Montreal are tire fires. Calgary's been really good, man.
So here's my question to both of you guys, and because I didn't think he could, but is Daryl Sittler this fucking good of a coach? Fuck.
I think he's a great coach. Like, look at the night.
Yeah, but I thought he wasn't gonna adapt to this game, and my God, dude.
But look at it, like.
Bro, he's got Andrew Mangiapane, bro. He's got Andrew Mangiapane.
Yo, I hate Andrew Mangiapane. I don't know why his name like kind of gets under my skin for fucking some reason. It's been bothering me for a few years now. I don't know why. Like last year, like it bothered me. I was like, because I had to hear it every day, right? Like, God, we played him like 17 times, and like every time I'd have to hear about the bread guy fucking scoring.
Yeah, he's that team's looking really good. I said it a little bit earlier. I believe in them a little bit more than I believe in Edmonton, just because Markstrom's look like
goaltending's better.
Vezina candidate this year,
and they have like 3 solid lines.
Yeah.
It's not just 2 players.
Yep.
And their defense is not the best, but it's great. Like, Shillington looks phenomenal. Tanev's been Tanev. Like, Hannafin has looked.
Hannafin's looked a lot better this year. Yeah.
Hannafin has finally looked like he was worth that trade that they made. Like, he looks phenomenal this year. Really good. I think Calgary is the second best team in Canada right now.
I agree.
And then McDavid and Draisaitl are the third best team in Canada.
And Winnipeg is ass, and I don't have anything else to say about them. So, you drafted Patrick Laine and thought he was better than Matthews, and then you traded him for Pierre-Luc Dubois, who was probably having an okay. He's having a good season, but don't
talk shit about Dubois. He's been great.
He's been your second best fantasy player, I know. But, I think that trade is always going to be weird to me. I think that like both Laine and Dubois are just like meh now. I know they're both like really talented, good players, but like the fact that there was a period of time where people were trying to convince us that Laine was better than Matthews, absolute joke. Whose team is this? This is Maz's fantasy team.
No, this is like the bottom of my list. I can't get you the goalies right now, but like. I got Markstrom and Hellebuck on my team, right?
Oh, this is your team. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna make some more moves, try and close that gap a little bit more.
Luck.
But we'll see. I don't know, man. I like my team.
You got a solid team. It's actually funny, like with Matthews starting to heat up Svek and fucking Landeskog and Kreider. Chris Kreider's killing it for me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to rub this in. I just love rubbing this in. I just wanted to kind of like.
Doesn't know the three of us are in a fantasy league together, and Gauch and I are 1 and 2. Maz holding down that last playoff spot.
I have a center core of McDavid, Crosby, Scheifele, Pettersson, and only one guy gets points now.
That's why. I
want to see my center core. I got a pretty good one too. I think I got Stamkos, JT, Point, and that it.
I have Kadri in this league too. It's hilarious.
Yeah, you do.
And then Kopitar's like me 1 block today. That's fucking great.
And Kopitar is playing like fucking old Kopitar, so it's fucking great. anyhow, anything else
wrapping.
about like
No.
anything else about the Habs? Like we just have to like talk
We'll do another show on them in a week. We should probably wrap up for today. But I think I'm excited to continue trolling Habs fans. I'm surprised at how many of them. I'll just say this: I'm surprised at how many of them are like sad Bergevin is leaving and like think that he did a great job. I don't even know. Like if that was my GM and he was around for that long and had been that like below average, their drafting was terrible under
That's
him.
exactly what I was about to say. I'm like, dude, look at your last 10 drafts
They
and
have
look at your
no
team right
prospects, dude. They have no prospects. The only prospects they had are the ones like now carrying their team. They've got nothing, right? They've got their prospect cupboards are empty. They've got prices.
What are you talking about? Have you like you haven't you haven't talked to Grant McCagg? Like you like
Grant McCagg blocked me, so I haven't talked to him. But I haven't been too caught up on Grant McCagg's prospect breakdown. But from what I've seen,
like the Habs are actually great at drafting, and he cherry picks stats, and then he gets mad that other people cherry pick stats.
Oh yeah.
Someone
posted screenshots of that where he was just like, "Yeah, we've got the most NHL games played out of all of our drafts." It was unreal.
Here are their draft picks that are on their team right now. Lehkonen. Hold up, I'm still scrolling.
The best
Jake Evans. I'm still scrolling. Hold up. Romanov, Caulfield, and Poling. Poling played 9 games. They have 4 fucking players out of their last 6 drafts that are on their team, and not a single one of them is their best player. It's fucking Nick Suzuki and then Tyler Toffoli.
The best player they drafted, maybe outside of Suzuki.
They didn't even draft Suzuki. They traded Pacioretty for him.
Sorry, outside of what was I going to say?
Caulfield,
sure. Sergachev, and he is now playing for Tampa.
I was also going to say that too.
They
hit on McDonough for a fucking.
They hit on one guy. They hit on one guy, and they traded him for Jonathan Drouin, man. And which again, Drouin's not a terrible player, but Sergachev is a top pairing D-man.
Drouin's dealing with his own demons, and playing in Montreal probably doesn't help with that.
I mean, actually, I think playing in Montreal is kind of the cause of the demons too. They turned on him hard early, right? Like they went at him. I have one of my. There's like one guy I respect that's a Habs fan. Like he's like an oxymoron, right? And like so, like he's the only guy like I'm cool with. And he was telling me he's like nah, like the fans turned on him like early. It was kind of how like they kind of turned on Kotkaniemi afterwards as well.
Yeah.
I love Kotkaniemi. He's one of my favorite players just because he signed that $20.
He's got man, that franchise is an absolute joke. They can't draft. They've got a bunch of terrible signings. Like Gallagher and freaking Anderson are going to be making like $10 million over the next like 5 years.
Gallagher just honestly put Gallagher on another team with actual talent. Yeah, that guy would be phenomenal.
Sure, where he knows his role, but right now I don't know what he's doing. And
how many points does he have? Hold on,
I gotta keep dunking on him. They were at their best when they had Galchenyuk, Gallagher. That's another guy, right? Galchenyuk. Like, sure, he doesn't look the same now, but it's probably because of the way he was treated when he was on that team. So,
he was great on the Leafs, but he took the same money to go play in fucking Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay, one low-key move that what's his face made was Bunting playing here is great because he can actively tell Matthews that it's not great to play in Arizona. It's like, I think all Matthews needs to do, based on Mark Mathott's advice, is go on NHL.com and look at the standings, and he'll know all about. I mean, they don't even have a home.
What do you mean? Arizona just shut out Winnipeg.
Did they? They don't have a home soon, right?
Soon they're going to be kicked out. So they're trying to figure out where the hell to go.
Coming to Quebec.
Or Hamilton, like, honestly.
God, no.
Hamilton would be good.
Yeah, Hamilton would be fun.
Yeah. Anyways, so we'll wrap up for today. I had a blast today, actually. We had some good conversations. I think what we're planning on doing moving forward is just, I think we want to have like 1 or 2 people from Leafs Twitter on here every week. We'll try and change it up every week so that you guys are hearing from different voices and putting some faces to names. It's funny. I've always liked kind of seeing what people look like, because not everybody has a picture of themselves on Twitter. So it's fun to get them in and see what people look like and hear from different voices that we interact with on a daily basis probably, but don't ever actually get to see. So we'll get some more people on here in the coming weeks, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I think now that we're out of therapy and we've been playing well, we'll be able to put some more consistent product out here for you guys. Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up?
No, I know. I mean, like, I know we had like a few. Like, I know I had a few questions like earlier. Like, I don't think we'll be able to get to them because I can't even fucking find them anymore. But we'll definitely do a little bit of that as well. Like, we'll ask for a few questions. We'll answer it to the best of our abilities, which is not really that high. And we'll do our best though. Like, all we're doing is talking shit in front of a camera.
Yes, sir.
I just want to talk a little bit more shit, not about hockey, but isn't it weird how Texas is spending $500 million to lose to us again? Fuck Texas.
Marcus Semien signed great. Like, I mean, happy for the dude. I really like the dude, but they just went and signed another shortstop. Like, Marcus is not playing shortstop there.
He's playing second base. He's playing second base.
Yeah, but I'm so confused. Like, I thought the whole point of him getting was to get his money, which I get. Like, he's a Scott Boras client now. But another thing was just, I thought he wanted to go back to shortstop.
I think they talked him into it because it's Corey Seager. Corey Seager is just that good.
Yeah.
If they tell you they're going to get someone that good, like, you're going to shift over, and you're getting $250 million. So
yeah, but he was playing beside Vladdy and fucking Bo Bichette's
like, good, but Corey Seager is different.
Yeah, but Vladdy is Vladdy.
Yeah, but Corey Seager, like, I'm not saying Texas team is better. I'm not saying Texas team is better, but he was not gonna get 27 mil a year here.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a good player. Man. Marcus Semien's a good player, but remember, he is surrounded by a fuckload of offensive bats. Like, his stats were inflated because there was not a lot of pressure on him to produce the way it's going to be in Texas or the way it would have been in Seattle or New York if he would sign in either one of those teams.
Yeah.
He's going to be
but there's some players that, like, do well because of it, and some people who do well in spite of, like, bad situations. Like, Marcus Semien took advantage of good situations. There's some value to that, right? Like, there's value to a guy who can take advantage of being in a lineup where he's getting pitched to, right? Not everyone knows how to, right? But whatever. Hey, man, like, honestly, I can't wait to, like, I saw Vladdy, like, working out already, and, like, dude's doing some shit, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. Let's just do it. Hit that ball. Play that baseball. Let's go, baby.
As they say in baseball, let's do that baseball. All right. We'll talk to you guys next week. And yeah, feel free to reach out to us if you want to hop on. If you got some questions, tweet at any of us or at our Twitter account, and we'll do our best to answer them. All right?
Yes, sir.
Have a good one, dudes.